Hello, everyone, ladies and gentlemen. I was scrolling on Quora because I sometimes love reading questions on Quora, and I think I did a few videos on Quora. I was starting to number them, but I decided not to number them. I was just going to say Quora questions because it's sometimes get tedious to find out what number you're on. Quora question one, Quora question two, and blase blase. Well, I find an interesting question that a lot of people I'm pretty sure heard of, if not everybody I know, especially if you're an adult and you've been dating for a while. And the question reads, what do people mean when they say don't settle? And I read a lot of answers people had, very interesting answers. Some people say that word settle means keep dreaming because any person who don't want to settle dies alone because they want to hold on to some kind of a fantasy dream that they want this perfect person who is a superhuman. They don't they have everything they're looking for and the whole nine. They just perfect. While I agree, you won't find the perfect person because everybody has flaws, and most people who are engaged in relationships, their partners aren't 100% of the type of person that they're looking for, and it could be anything that minor. Half of that answer I can say I can agree with. And some people even say things like people don't want to settle because they feel that they feel like they don't want to get involved with anything less than what they deserve. They feel that they deserve a certain caliber of woman or a certain caliber of men based off of how they feel. Well, my response to settling, what settling is, when people really say they don't want to settle, they're not saying that you is a less of a person than them, or your value isn't really much of anything. When people say they don't want to settle, that means they don't want they that person. What that person is really saying is they don't want to be involved with somebody who is who don't really have who have who don't really have as much as they want. The attributes of them don't align with what that person is looking for. It doesn't necessarily mean that that person is perfect, but that means that person have boundaries. They have standards. That's what a settling is. Settling is you don't really have you're not setting standards or boundaries. You just getting with somebody because just for the sake of being in a relationship or maybe being married or whatever, you just get with a person. But you do have your preference, but you may not have a connection with you do have your preference and everything, but you just have a hard time finding somebody who meet that preference. So what you do is get with somebody you don't really connect with. That's what settling is. And it's been plenty of times that I actually hear a lot of women say they refuse to settle for a guy who who uh who don't really meet their standards and their boundaries. And you got a lot of guys that say they don't want to settle with a lot of women who I'm giving an example. They may say they want to settle with a woman who has multiple kids with multiple baby daddies. They don't want to settle with a woman who out in the street probably getting high and smoking cigarette and drinking and acting manly with it. They don't want to deal with a woman who uh who use profanity a lot. That kind of standards I can kind of understand because you can very easily cipher through women who aren't like that. You set your boundaries, make up yourself, saying, you know what, I'm not going to deal with that type of energy. I'm gonna have the certain standards where I can meet a woman who doesn't smoke or drink. I can meet a woman who I can meet a woman who don't cuss and use profanity. I can meet a woman who look very classy and elegant and not masculine, if that's their preference. They can. That's kind of understandable. Now, on the flip side of it, you might have some guys that have a set standards where they may say things like, "I don't want this woman because I want a woman who looks sexy. She has wide hips. She has heavy chested woman, nice thighs. She keep herself very groomed. She know how to. She have her hair and nails done. She know how to go in the kitchen and cook a good dinner. She can, while she doing all of that, make herself look good. She can take care of his kids. That'd be a lot of just that one woman. And you set your standards on that. Some part of it is impossible because if a woman is busy and making money, and you the type of guy that you want to go 50-50, but you're not really bringing much to the table. She putting most of the, y'all do going 50-50, but she doing all of the hard work. That's kind of overreaching. That part I can understand. Then you got some women that might say they prefer a man who's 6'4", who make 250 a year. He got to be well kept. He got to be a little hard and rough. That's kind of equivalent to that. Some of that standards is that boundaries that you set for yourself. It don't really equates to that average, because of course, like I said earlier, nobody's perfect. But if she might have a certain standards when it comes to just height, or she might prefer a guy who's very intelligent, who know more than her and who can learn, who can teach her a lot of stuff, she can easily find that. The standards of that isn't really impossible, rather. She can easily find a guy who meet those standards. It's okay to, my opinion, it's okay to have standards. It's okay to set boundaries. But I'm saying this for anybody. If you want a certain caliber of a person, be the list of the standards. Do what it takes to get that type of man or woman. You got to be the person that attract those type. You don't want to be a guy or a woman who don't contribute to anything in your life, but you want to aim at somebody who's very successful and contribute to a lot of stuff. You don't want to be that type of guy. And there's good news to that. You can always change. You can upgrade yourself. You can upgrade your standards. I mean, not standard. You can upgrade yourself so you can be a better pick of a person. Because you got some people who have low self-esteem and say, "Oh, I can never do this," or "I can never make this amount of money," or "I can never be this kind of intelligent." My thing is, though, it's a lot of things you can work on. Now, when it comes to the way how you look, you can groom yourself and everything, but the way how you look and your appearance and your complexions, there's certain things you can't change, which is understandable. But there's a lot of things you can change to be the list. You can always upgrade. You can always change who you are. Change who you are. I wouldn't say you change who you are as an individual, but even with that, you can still work on yourself. Be the better version of yourself. You can be yourself, but you can be the better version. You can learn more, learn a lot of things, experience life more. You can don't be in a relationship for a while and be busy finding out who you are as a person. In order for you to find yourself, you got to focus on yourself. Focus on things you like. Focus on things you want to try. Try some things out, because in order for you to learn, you got to expand. You got to grow. That's all part of learning. And most people who are involved in most successful relationship and became better picks, is because most of the time they apply themselves to be picked by the best person who they want to get with. I'm not saying that a person who don't have any goals and ambition can't find nobody. They can, but for them to find a certain standard of or caliber of a person, they must be part of the list that they demand. You want to get for a guy to get with a woman who's a Michelle Obama. You got to put yourself in a position to be chosen by a Michelle Obama. You gotta, get work on yourself, get educated. If you want to go back to school, go back to school. Work on yourself. Forget about relationships because I was told this and that when I was a kid too. Girlfriends will come, women will come, but first you gotta focus on yourself. And what they say is it make a lot of sense because you can just go around looking for girlfriends, looking for somebody who you want to marry and everything. But when you get married, how you going to provide for them? You need to know more about credit. You need to know more about responsibilities. You need to learn more about life in general. You need to know how to control your emotions. You need to know how to manage stress that's coming within your life. All of that are attributes that can make you a good husband for a good woman that you're looking for. When you find yourself, you'll find out what you want. And when you find out what you want, you're not afraid to set your boundaries. And once you set your boundaries and have your certain standards, then you don't have to worry about being settled because you'll be a good candidate to be chosen. That's what settling is. And that's my definition. And this will conclude this video on the core question. I hope you all got some helpful insight from this. Please like, share, and subscribe. Take care of yourself and each other.